Live from Lane Stadium, Lane Tech football is on the air. The biggest matchup in recent history for Lane Tech. They look to win their conference for the first time in we really do not know how long. Big implications for Lane Tech tonight and the future of this program as they look to get a trailblazing win against a Phillips Wildcats team that has been one of the top squads in CPS for the past 10, 15 years or so. Lane Tech, one of the traditional powerhouses of the Chicago Public League, taking on Phillips, who have just, as you mentioned, the last 5 to 10 years just completely dominated the Chicago Public League. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Alex. We're seen above midfield here at Lane Stadium, Fritz Collins Field. The stands are just about packed to our right and our left. Fans still filing in. We are expecting pretty much a sellout crowd here on this Friday night. Just one of only 2 Friday night lights games at Lane Stadium for Lane Tech this year. There was a buzz in the hallway today that just cannot be replicated. Everyone very excited for tonight's matchup, and Lane Tech football looking to prove themselves against a Phillips squad that, as we mentioned, just so very impressive. Right now, the 2 teams are warming up. Lane Tech is still getting some warm-ups on the right side of the field. Phillips has mostly left the field for now. They are just having a couple of players huddled in the north end, the south end zone, but we are awaiting the senior night ceremony, which should get going in just about, we're hoping, a couple of minutes. The announcers in the booth and all the seniors for cheer team, dance team, and of course the football team, majorettes, band, everyone going to be honored before the game, and then we're going to have a pretty late kickoff here from Lane Stadium. It was originally set for 7:15. The first game of the night between Bulls Prep and Brownlee went long. It was a big win for Bulls Prep. It's a global league play, so Bulls Prep got game number 1 here at Lane Stadium, but that game went late. Our ceremony is going to probably start around 7:30, and it's going to go about 15 minutes or so, I imagine, and then we're getting back for now, probably about a 7:45, 7:50 first kick. So if you guys are not interested in the senior night ceremony, you can come back about 10-15 minutes or so. We will have in between Lane Tech and Phillips. Should be a fun one. We're going to leave most of our analysis of that game for after the ceremony. We do have a lot of interesting points. Should be a very fun matchup between 2 squads who play the game quite differently, but both have success on the defensive and offensive side of the ball this year. But first, as we mentioned, just honoring all the seniors on this Lane Tech team and across the various student organizations that help make these game days so fun. It looks like Lane Tech is currently crowded in a huddle, so we should be set for the actual start of the ceremony in a couple of minutes. For the senior night ceremony, and then we will get going as we mentioned after the gameplay following that. A very fun one tonight between Lane Tech and Phillips. Lane Tech their 6th win of the season in the state playoff conference. Not yet get any further than that in the conference title, which they can either do or clinch care of tonight. It's a little confusing with the tiebreakers, but they're in a very good position to at least tie for the conference title for a week here tonight. Phillips, meanwhile, 3-3, but that record not confused at all. They lost the 3 state south teams, Batavia, Mount Carmel, and Morgan Park. So 3 tough losses for the Wildcats, but since then they have been rolling. So Western wins by 4 points, stacked by 3 points, and then last week they came alive playing with this Phillips team that we really had come to expect. They had a 5-point win against their young here at Lane Stadium last Friday night. So we'll see if the Wildcats can repeat their magic on this Lane Stadium turf in a couple of minutes here, and then we will be ready for the start of the actual gameplay here as still both teams just huddling up. It looks like we're having some people go towards midfield, so hoping that is going to mark the start of the ceremony here on this Friday night. Lane Tech coming off a 24-8 win against Clark last Saturday on Fritz Collins Day, and looks like we're starting to sort of send the booth.
The Lane Tech football booth asking you to join with us in celebrating tonight we recognize the senior years of our abundant Lane Tech football team. The leadership of the senior football players has been fearless and bold, creating an already unforgettable season. Their hard work on the field and their dedication in the classroom honor the Myrtle and Gold by continuing a long, proud tradition of scholar athletes at Lane Tech. Their talents and their exploits on the field have brought fame and accolade to the Lane Tech Champions football. With their efforts and your continued loyal support, Lane Tech is bound to win the championship. But the students aren't the only people who deserve praise. We are here to recognize the parents and caregivers of our student athletes. For their tireless hours, never asking for laurels or praise, they deserve our gratitude. For their encouragement of all these student athletes, never receiving the cheers they shout so often, they deserve our gratitude. For nursing bruises and wounds and soothing egos, never asking for support in return, they deserve all the gratitude we can give. These parents are vital to the success of the team, and they deserve a share in each victory. They are truly champions. Tonight we also welcome back to the School of Champions the graduating class of 1972 as they celebrate their 50th reunion. They wish to extend a greeting to all current and future students. Wherever you go, whatever you do, remember the honor of Lane. Before our field ceremony begins, we should have a round of applause for the grandparents, aunts, uncles, families, friends, neighbors, and all other adults who mentor and care for these kids. We also give a thanks to the Lane Tech football coaches and all the support staff. A thank you to all the Lane Tech educators, professional and volunteer faculty and administration. Thank you to Principal Edwina Thompson, and thank you to Athletic Director Brent Bradish. And now, please direct your attention to midfield as we present to you our senior Lane Tech football champions. First, our manager, Tylene Valdez. Next, number 7, linebacker, Cam Robinson. Number 9, athlete and captain, Yanni Katsakurdikis. Number 12, quarterback, Mark Seward. Number 24, athlete and captain, Finn Merrill. Number 30, safety, Ben Lyman. Number 40, linebacker, Vin Huynh. Number 41, kicker, Mugdim Kreho. Number 44, linebacker, Zach Shishoa. Number 45, defensive end, Edward Nikwe. Number 48, defensive end and tight end, Gavin Cole. Number 55, offensive line, defensive line, and captain, James Wynn. Number 60, defensive line, Jeremiah Mays. Number 70, defensive line, Jamarius Hammond. Number 74, offensive line and defensive line, Suleiman Boot. Number 80, wide receiver and free safety, Charlie Duncan. Number 81, athlete and captain, Casey Joyce. Number 83, wide receiver and tight end, Chris Salas. Number 95, kicker, Simon Olson. number 97, defensive line, Charisma Cusares. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another round of applause to our senior players and their parents and families. Can you take it from her?
Yeah.
Have a good one.
You too.
If I get to
And just like that, we have honored all the seniors, and it is time for some football. Lane Tech honoring all their seniors in a very nice ceremony here at Lane Stadium, but now we have the reason all the fans have packed into Lane Stadium. A conference championship game, de facto conference championship. It's just a regular season game, but winner is going to basically clinch the conference championship here tonight between Phillips and Lane Tech. There's 12 minutes on the clock, both the teams still huddling up, but we should have action in just a minute or so here from Lane Stadium. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Alex Burstein, above the 50-yard line here at Lane Stadium. It is a perfect night for football, you could say. It's about 50 degrees, 45 degrees, windy. I have my winter coat on for my first broadcast of the year, so definitely a little colder than Lane Tech is used to, but this is football weather. This is October football weather, I should say, and we are in for what should be a very fun night of action between Lane Tech and Phillips. Lane Tech's going to send their 4 captains to the middle of the field right now for the coin toss, that being number 81, Casey Joyce, number 55, James Wynn, number 24, Finn Merrill, and number 9, Giannis Katsogradakis. We are trying to see who the Phillips captains are. We know them on our roster, but not sure how accurate that was, so we will just wait until we get jersey numbers here. Just a quick, I don't know if you want to say this, warning or what before we actually get started here, but we did not get an official roster from Phillips despite a couple of emails, and their roster on Simeon, on Max Preps, had about 77 players, including many who didn't have numbers who had graduated a couple years ago. So we're going to try our best with the Phillips numbers tonight as Lane Tech runs through their opening sign and gets on the field here for a couple of last-minute warm-ups, but as we were saying, we have our full roster for Lane Tech, not a full roster for Phillips, but we are going to try our best, and we do think we have the correct numbers for all the top players, so we will see them in action in just a couple of minutes. A couple names to watch on both sides of the ball tonight for Lane Tech and Phillips. For Lane Tech, it's really those 4 captains in the middle right here. Giannis Katsogradakis had a great game last week, punching in a touchdown after punching in 2 touchdowns 2 weeks ago, so he has 3 touchdowns in 2 days, and we'll be looking to add to that here tonight. To his left immediately is the star of this Lane Tech team, number 24, Finn Merrill, and it just cannot be stated how impressive of a year Finn Merrill has had. Added another touchdown last week, led the team in carries and yards last week, and he just really is the heart of this Lane Tech squad, and he will be leading the rushing effort alongside number 81, Casey Joyce, who's on the far side of the captains for Lane Tech. He's another one of these really good rushers for Lane Tech. He's second on the team in yards, I want to say. Him, Katsogradakis, and Merrill have the majority of the yards. And then in the middle, number 55, James Wynn. He has been one of the leaders on an offensive and defensive line that have just been so impressive for Lane Tech this year. The Lane Tech has only basically ran the ball this year, and they've gotten so many rushing yards, a big part because of that offensive line. On the defensive line of things, teams just have not been able to run the ball against Lane Tech because of how impressive their rush defense has been. The leading the leading yardage person for Clark last week against Lane Tech had 42 yards, I want to say. So Lane Tech does not allow a lot of yards, as we're going to wait to see here really quick who won the toss. Lane Tech has had really good luck, and it looks like that might have said Clark won the toss and elected to receive. I'm assuming that's what the referee just said. So Lane Tech is going to kick off to start things off here tonight. And that's where they've really impressed all year long, because the signature for Lane Tech has been they get the ball to start the third quarter every single time, or most of the times this year they've been in the league, and then they just love draining the clock in the second half. So Lane Tech gets lucky here. They will have possession to start the second half, and we will see if they can stop this Phillips offense, which is just so very potent here to start off the first half of play. It's going to be Simon Olson, one of the seniors here tonight, kicking things off for Lane Tech. We will see who is back deep for the Wildcats. This is a Wildcats team that is both really good at running the ball and passing the ball. That's really the first team Lane Tech has played all year long that can pass the ball, so that's going to be something to look for here tonight for Lane Tech. As it looks like we're just about ready for kickoff here at Fritz Pollard Field at Lane Stadium. Lane Tech and Phillips playing for a conference championship here on this Friday night. Packed crowd on the home side, and Simon Olson ready to kick it here for Lane Tech. A couple guys back here for the Wildcats. Olson kicking off from the Lane Tech 40-yard line, and we are underway here at Lane Stadium. This one barely caught by McDonald there. He gets it at around the 20, and a big tackle there from a couple of Lane Tech guys who got there in a hurry. And Phillips is going to start off with the ball at the 25-yard line. So this is going to be one of the keys tonight, and might be my number one key to the game for Lane Tech. It's going to be all about starting field position. They want to make sure that Phillips does not have good field position, that they are having to make long drives and having to force the Wildcats to make errors on defense for Lane Tech. On the offensive side of things, last week Whitney Young just really had no good starting field position. Lane Tech needs to change that this week as Winslow Jr. takes the ball for the first time tonight. Rolling to his right, throws up the middle. This one incomplete. Intended receiver there is going to be number 10, Cameron Williams. So first down and 10, goes for an incomplete pass, and that is just what you want to see out of Lane Tech's defense. So under quarterback here tonight for the Wildcats is going to be the coach's son, number 4, Joseph Winslow Jr. Winslow is a junior. Junior is his end of his last name as well, but he is a junior on this squad, so he has a pretty bright future with this Phillips team, but cannot get it here quickly. It's a long break in between plays here. I did not see a flag thrown. They might be walking the ball back here. See what the call is from the referee, and looks like they did. So that's one comes all the way back to about the 11-yard line, I want to say, and they're going to keep it at first down. So we didn't see the flag there. Must have been a holding on the Wildcats, and now it'll be first and long. Winslow Jr. again. They hand it off, first handoff of the night, and that one goes for minimal yardage. As we said, these teams have not had a lot of success against Lane Tech's defensive line this year, and Lane Tech's looking to keep that true here on this Friday night. Big key for Lane Tech defensively is going to be stopping that those long yardage plays. They have not had a lot of long throws attempted against them this year, but if they can keep Phillips from having 20, 30-yard passes, that's going to be key. Winslow drops back for the second time tonight, finds McDonald, who catches it around the 20, and that will get back to around the original yard of scrimmage, taken down at the end there by, looks like, number 9, Giannis Katsogradakis, who gets his first tackle of the night, and it will bring up third down and 10 here, it looks like. Yes, they'll get right back to the line of scrimmage. Now they move it back a yard, so third down and 11 from the Wildcats' own 24-yard line. This is where Lane Tech can't get sloppy. They have Phillips in a position that they want them. 3rd and long. We'll see if they can keep that here. 10:30 on the clock. Clock has not stopped much here early on, and we are going to see a penalty flag thrown. And that's going to be a false start. So 2 penalties on the opening drive here for Phillips. First, a holding makes it 1st down and about 22 yards to go. And then when they get 3rd and 11, they bring it back 5 yards. So it's going to be 3rd down and 16 now for the Wildcats with 10:20 to go in quarter number 1. So everything going Lane Tech's way early on. We'll see if they can stop them here on the 3rd and long. Looks like Winslow's top target here tonight has been Ryan McDonald. McDonald committed this week to Northern Illinois University as Winslow looking to his right. This one caught by McDonald near the 32 and dragging him towards the sideline there. One of the Lane Tech defenders. We'll see if we can get a number on that one. A nice play. A good pass by Winslow received by McDonald, however, not enough. And this is going to bring up 4th down. And looks like Phillips, who has traditionally really liked the 4th down play, has really enjoyed going for the 4th down because their punting's not the strongest this year, is not going to go for it on 4th and about 5 yards to go, maybe 4 yards, depending on the way you look at it. Instead, they're going to be on the defensive side for the first time today, barring any errors from the Lane Tech receivers. It's going to be Finn Merrill back to receive here. 9:12 to go in quarter number 1 of play, and I think we're going to have a, let's see what the call is. Lane Tech doesn't look super happy, and wow, that's a very unfortunate penalty on 4th and 5. Lane Tech goes off sides, and that's going to be an automatic 1st down. We talked about Lane Tech needing to limit those errors. They had Phillips in a position where they were going to go 3 and out to start off the day, but they cannot finish it. Instead, they're going to have 1st down and 10 from their own 36-yard line. So we'll see how Lane Tech can recover from that. Winslow in the backfield. One man to his right, throws it to McDonald, his only target yet. Gets past Joshua there for the tackle, but then coming in there was Merrill. Joshua finishes the tackle. And another short yardage pass here to Ryan McDonald, who, as we mentioned, has been targeted on every single passing play so far from Winslow. For the most part here tonight, it's been Winslow in the backfield, one running back to his right, who has long hair and we're trying to catch the number of here. They rotate through a couple of running backs, so we'll try to identify them as they come into the game. As now they're going to line up with a guy to his right and a guy to his left here. So expect possibly a running play here from Phillips. 8 minutes on the clock, quarter number 1. 2 men to his right. Winslow looking for his first big completion. They hand it off and stuffed up the middle there by number 73 for Lane Tech. That is Oliver Sevig, a 2-way lineman for Lane Tech. And once again, that's the 2nd rushing play we have seen from the Wildcats, and once again they have gotten 1 or no yards off of both of those. So Lane Tech continuing their strong start defensively. It's going to bring up 3rd down and 8 yards to go. Scoreboard has that 3rd down and 9, and it looks like it will, so they actually lost yardage there on the 2nd down play. So 3rd down and long here for the Wildcats once again. Winslow in the backfield. Man to his right and left. They move the wide receivers to his right side here instead. This time he's going to drop back to pass. Looking to his right-hand side. Throws wide open. McDonald, who gets across the chains for the 1st down. First true 1st down of the night here, and that is just something you're going to have to clean up if you're Lane Tech. Ryan McDonald, one of the probably the top receiver Lane Tech has seen all season long. You cannot leave him wide open. Winslow to McDonald once again, this time for a completion of about 10 to maybe 12 yards there. They get across midfield and Lane Tech territory for the first time here tonight, and it'll be 1st and 10 from the Lane Tech 49 now for the Wildcats. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Stadium. Phillips in their white away jerseys going from right to left here. Lane Tech in their all green uniforms with yellow helmets. 6:20 to go, quarter number 1. They run it up the middle, and this is their first successful run of the night. Finally taken down with a big run there by, looks like maybe number 11, Dylan Penn. That's still the running back we've not had a good view on the number of. Apologies for that, folks, but just broke through the middle there for the first down. And yes, it is going to be number 11, so we're assuming it's the correct Penn on this roster. He's listed as a cornerback, but this Phillips team does change around positions sometime, and a big run there on first down to get another first down. Gain of 10 yards there, and it will be 1st and 10 now from the Lane Tech 39. We expected Lane Tech to be the team having the long drives here tonight, but it's kind of switched to Phillips. 6 minutes and 20 seconds in this first drive so far, 5:40, and looks like we're going to have our first timeout call of the night. And we'll see who it is called against. So once again, this drive was almost over about 5 to 6 plays ago when Phillips had a 4th down and 5 and sent their punt team out, but an offsides penalty on Lane Tech gave a first down to the Wildcats, and they have not looked back since. A very good reception to Ryan McDonald, as well as a rushing first down there by Penn a couple of seconds ago to give back-to-back first downs for the Wildcats. As we mentioned, Phillips coming off their biggest win of the season last week against the Whitney Young Dolphins here at Lane Stadium. That was homecoming for Whitney Young, so Phillips was able to spoil homecoming, and now they're hoping to spoil the senior night for Lane Tech. Lane Tech not going to back up easily here. One thing we should know, this is a team that does not have great kicking, so we're probably not going to see any field goal attempts out of Phillips, so if Lane Tech can keep them here, still have a chance to get the ball back with a 0-0 score. Once again, Winslow in the backfield, 2 running backs. This time they have wide receivers far to the left and to the right. Went with a weird snap count there. Penn up the middle again, but finally taken down by Joshua and Katsogradakis after a gain of about 4 yards. So not as good as those first couple of stops by Lane Tech, but they do stop him before getting any super big yardage there. They end up giving him 3, and it will be 2nd down and 7 from the 36-yard line. Started off this first down from the Lane Tech 39. 5:10 to go in quarter number 1 of action. Both these teams come in with a 3-0 conference record, just 6 teams in the conference. So if you win 4, you basically clinch the title, and whoever wins this will have the head-to-head. I was pretty sure it was going to be outright conference title. The Sun-Times had the winner of this gets a share of the conference title, but I'm pretty sure head-to-head's the first tiebreaker, so barring any unforeseen circumstance, the winner of tonight's game should win the conference title. They hand it off again to Penn, but quickly there for the tackle, number 48 Gavin Cole. Got there very quickly to the runner. They say he got no yardage there. Looked like he got at least to the 35. The referees will say no, though. And we will have another 3rd down and long, 3rd down and 8. Apologies, this started from the 38, not the 39. So that was just a 2-yard gain on the first down. And once again, 3rd down and long here for the Phillips Wildcats on their opening drive. 4 minutes to go, quarter number 1 of action. Winslow throws to Penn and breaks past the defender for the first down across the 20. Finally taken down by Katsogradakis, and a big gain there on 3rd and long. And looks like Phillips is going to be just short of the red zone here. They're going to mark him at the 21-yard line. But this rushing game has just been unsufferable here after a couple of early mistakes. They have found their top running back so far tonight in Dylan Penn, who's just been blasting up the middle. And giving Phillips some early momentum. 3:30 to go in quarter number 1. For those of you just joining us, Lane Tech has not touched the ball yet. And looks like we might see, no, they're not going to go with the Wildcat yet. This is a Phillips team that does like to use the direct snap. They give it to Winslow, hands off to Penn. There quickly was Katsogradakis, finally brought down by a couple of Lane Tech defenders, including number 55, James Wynn, and number 44, Zach Joshua, and like one other name possibly over there, but those were the two guys who brought him down. They'll say it's a gain of 1, and we'll have 2nd down and 9 here for Phillips. It's been a pretty similar pattern these past couple of plays for Phillips. They have not been strong on 1st or 2nd down, but on 3rd down, they've just blasted up the middle or having a big pass to break away from 3rd and longs, and this was one of the keys for the game. Lane Tech had to stop those 3rd and longs. They have not done it yet here today. We'll see if they can switch that up here with 2:20 to go in quarter number 1 of action. Clock still ticking here. Handed off to Winslow. This one up the middle, and number 0 on the carry. He gets across the 15 and is going to be brought down at around the 13-yard line. So short of the 1st down, but is going to be 3rd and short here. We'll see where they do the official marking. Looks like it's at the 14, I want to say, and we should have 3rd and 3 here. So we'll see if we see a direct snap from the Wildcats for the first time here tonight. We do not have a number 0 on our roster. Apologies for that, folks. That's one of the main rushers who's been in the backfield early on today for Phillips. Minute 40 to go, quarter number 1. Hand it off again, number 0 again. He finds an opening, like Joshua there for the tackle, but this is going to move the chains inside the 10-yard line, and we're going to have 1st down and goal to go here for Phillips in quarter number 1. Wow, that one went a lot further than it originally looked like. They're going to mark him down all the way at the 4-yard line, so a very impressive run there. Winslow in the backfield once again. They run a hurry-up offense. Same exact play from Phillips, and getting into the end zone to score there is Phillips. A 10-minute and 50-yard drive to start things off here on this senior night for Lane Tech. Phillips just took advantage of an early error from Lane Tech where they did a offsides on 4th down and 5 when Phillips was going to punt, and Phillips just goes straight after it from there to go up 6-0 here early. It's the Phillips team that does not kick the ball really. They're going to go for the 2-point conversion here. It's like we might see a direct snap to number 0 there. We will. He goes up the middle, going to his left-hand side and stopped there. So a good stop there on the 2-point conversion. Phillips' offense, though, looks very strong here to start off the night, and it will be a 6-0 lead here for the Wildcats as we'll update our score bug for the first time here tonight. Wildcats with a 6-0 lead. This is actually something they did not do last week. They went 3 and out, I believe, in their first series against Whitney Young, and then their offense came alive. That's not the case here on this Friday night, but we'll see what Lane Tech's offense can do against this Phillips team. Lane Tech, almost an exclusive rushing team, and they're going to have to rush the ball tonight against a very big Phillips defensive line. This is a Phillips squad that has a lot of height, a lot of weight on their front guys, and their safeties, cornerbacks, too, very impressive. However, Lane Tech does not really pass the ball, so we assume they might be more out of the picture here tonight. The real battle is going to be the defensive line taking on these top Lane Tech rushers. As you mentioned, we have Finn Merrill, Casey Joyce, Giannis Katsakardakis. That's who we expect to get the majority of the carries, though would not be surprised to see Lane Tech try a couple trick plays here tonight. This one, not a super long kick, taken here by Thurmond at around the 20-yard line. He gets past a couple of tackles off to the 35. He's still on his feet, and an excellent run there from Jacoby Thurmond. We said one of the keys to the game here tonight is going to be good starting field position for the champions, and they get that here to start off their offensive drive here. That one ran from around the 20-yard line all the way out to the Lane Tech 41 yards. So Thurmond, who's played majority of this season as a cornerback, has had a couple of carries offensively, but mostly a defensive player, has a very nice kickoff return here, and with 58 seconds to go in quarter number 1, Lane Tech is going to take over possession here. Lane Tech going with their classic double wing offense. We had a flag on the field against Phillips. And that's going to move it up 5 yards. So Lane Tech will start off their drive with 1st and 5 from the 46-yard line of their own side of the field. It's the complete opposite of Phillips, who had a 1st down and about 20 after a holding on their first play of the game. So some early fortune for Lane Tech offensively. We'll see what they can do with it. Double wing offense for Lane Tech per usual here tonight. Mark Seward's going to be under center. Katsagradakis, Casey Joyce, Finn Merrill in motion. And I believe that's going to be an offsides on Phillips. And that's going to be an automatic 1st down for Lane Tech. So 2 offsides, we believe, to start off this game. That should move the chains. And Lane Tech gets it into Phillips territory without even having to snap the ball after a 21-yard return from Jacoby Thurmond and then a 2 5-yard penalties. So good start here for Lane Tech. Now we'll see what they can do. Merrill in motion. Looks like the same play here for Lane Tech. They get it to Merrill, who goes up the middle. Quick tackle there by number 77, Travis Bryant. The 6'3" tackle for this Wildcat squad, and they give him 1 yard, it looks like. So they bring him up to the 48. It's one of the biggest question marks here tonight. Merrill has been undersized all year long, but just so strong. Comes in at 5'5", but a lot of muscle on him means that he's been able to fight through so many defensive lines, but playing the biggest D-line yet against this Phillips team. They give it to Merrill again, goes to the right side, and looks like he's going to be stopped probably for a loss there. Might have gotten back to the original line of scrimmage, and that should bring us to the end of the 1st quarter. They're going to mark it once again at the 48-yard line of Phillips as the clock rolls down, and that will bring us to the end of 1 quarter of play here from Lane Stadium. So Phillips goes just over 10 minutes on their first drive of the evening, end it on a short touchdown run of 4 yards by number 0, the running back we do not have a name for. Lane Tech gets the ball back with just over a minute. They only get 2 plays off, runs to Finn Merrill. They're at the Phillips 48-yard line, so good field position, but they do have 3rd and long, 3rd and 9. So we'll see what they can do outside of this break. Obviously, we will flip the field here, so Lane Tech will be heading towards the south end zone. Flag is pretty much still here at Lane Stadium in the north end zone, so not a lot of wind. Neither team should have an advantage going either to the south end zone or the north end zone. The only difference I guess I can see, we have the freshman, sophomore, junior student section more to the north side, the senior student section to the south side here. So we'll see which one's louder. Maybe that will provide an advantage to Lane Tech offensively or defensively. Not a lot of fans out for Phillips. Definitely a much longer ride up from Phillips than for the local fans here at Lane Tech. So 3rd down and long for the champions. They've only gone almost straight up the middle. I have a feeling they might try to work the outside here, and you really see no one outside the middle here for Phillips. They do have a lot of speed defensively. They put Merrill in motion again. They hand it off to Joyce. Joyce out the middle. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. Joyce is going to go to the end zone. 49 yards for Casey Joyce on the first play of the 2nd quarter. He went 51 last week against Clark for Lane Tech's first touchdown. He goes 49 here tonight for Lane Tech's first, and the champions are going to tie it up at 6. Phillips just totally not ready for that play. It's one of the classic ones Lane Tech has ran all year long. They pitch it to Merrill. They have Merrill give it to Joyce. And now if Mugdem Creo can hit the extra point, which he's been very good at hitting this year, this is going to be a very early lead for the champions, 7-6 with 11:50 to go in quarter number 2. Casey Joyce, just very impressive. 2nd on the team in yards last week after his touchdown run, and he leads the team now in yards in this game after that 49-yard touchdown rush. Kick is up, and it is good. And Lane Tech is going to take a 7-6 lead here against the Phillips Wildcats. So if you had some concern as a Lane Tech fan after that first drive, against Phillips. I totally would not blame you. Phillips had complete control of this one, really, as they pushed the ball up the field and ended up scoring with pretty much ease after a 10-minute drive. Lane Tech's drive, meanwhile, goes for about 2.5 minutes, ending with the touchdown rush from Joyce, and a 7-6 lead now for Lane Tech over the Wildcats. And we'll see if Lane Tech can stop Phillips defensively for the first time here tonight. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Fritz Pollard Field at Lane Stadium. Crowd very loud after that last touchdown from Joyce. And one of the things we've seen from Lane Tech as of recent, they've been very strong in the first half. Their offense has kind of quieted down in the last 3 weeks in the second half of play. A beautiful kick here from Olsen. Just goes out of bounds at the 1-yard line. The penalty flag is going to go up, so that's going to move the ball up considerably for Phillips, but almost tucked that one right into the end zone, which would have been a touchback and probably what you most want to see. I'm not sure in high school what the rule is, how far this is going to get moved up. I've seen some go to the 40. Right now, the referee standing at the 30-yard line, and I believe that is where we're going to see it started here for Phillips. So not horrible field position, not great field position, better than Phillips using their speed to return it most likely. So definitely could have been a worse outcome there for Lane Tech, as they're going to, looks like, move it up to the 35. So yes, so Phillips will start off with it at their own 35-yard line. Better field position than they had to start the game, where they were pinned at around their own 25, and we'll see what they can do with it here. 11:50 to go in quarter number 1 here between the champions and the Wildcats. Winslow in the backfield again. Running backs to his right and left, and this one's going to be stopped almost immediately there. Gain of about 2 yards. Quickly on the tackle there was number 74. I believe that's Suleiman Butt. Another one of these seniors. The seniors playing excellent, yes. Butt there on the tackle after a gain of 2 yards, and we'll see 2nd and long, 2nd and 8 here. Should give a shout out to all the different student organizations here tonight. We have the cheer team, dance team, majorettes, band, fans, players. A good percent of the student body at Lane Tech is here tonight. I'm not exactly sure how many are how many each side of Lane Stadium can seat, but imagine we're at least in the quadruple digits here tonight for the student body for Lane Tech. Screen pass here to Penn, who goes up the middle. Tackle at around the 50. We are going to see a late penalty flag thrown by the referee at around the 48-yard line. We saw an early holding penalty against the Wildcats, and looks like this one is coming back. So a nice run there by Penn, who's been just completely getting after this Lane Tech defense early on. However, it gets called back for what we believe is a late holding. They're going to run the clock, and this one brought all the way back to the 27-yard line. So the referee was standing at around the 48. This must have been more than a holding, because this is going to be about a 15-yard penalty from where the referee was standing. Now it's going to be 2nd down and 19. Penn probably got 19 yards on that last carry, but gets it brought back. Winslow's going to throw to his right-hand side, complete. A couple of Lane Tech players there quickly, and they get back to around the line of scrimmage before being taken down. 10 minutes now to go here in quarter number 2. See where the official marking is. Looks like it's going to be right where the original drive started. So it's going to be 3rd down and 10 from the 35-yard line. They'll move it up 1. So 3rd down and 9 from the Phillips 36-yard line. And we're going to see a timeout called by head coach Diedrich DeWalt for Lane Tech. It looked like Lane Tech's defense was just a little confused here. Phillips definitely has the easier job defensively here today. They kind of just have to line up for one formation from Lane Tech. Phillips has been going many different formations. They've had receivers to the right, to the left, 2 guys in the backfield, 1 guy's in the backfield. We've seen an empty backfield a couple of times. So Lane Tech's had to change up configurations a couple of times here they've had to change up a couple of times here defensively, but so far, no super big plays, especially no super big passing plays, which was one of the areas of concern coming in tonight for Lane Tech. 9:49 to go. Lane Tech exited the timeout that they called quicker than Phillips did. So, third down, 9 yards to go here for the Wildcats. They'll look like they'll snap it to Winslow. He's looking to his right, has a receiver open up the middle, and this one bobbling comes to the ground. It was number 0, the running back, on the intended receiver there, but a couple of Lane Tech guys just came into the coverage. No receivers were really open there. I spoke too soon for Phillips. No flag called. And we are going to have 4th down and 9 here, and the punt team is going to be sent out for Phillips. So Lane Tech will look to give their first 2-possession lead of the day here, as they're going to get the ball for the second time tonight. Finn Merrill back to receive at around the 33-yard line. We've seen some hesitancy these last couple of weeks from Merrill to really run the ball back. He's let a lot of them just drop in front of him. A pretty good kick here to the 35. Fair catch, and they just completely tackled Merrill. Looked like that was number 25, Terrence Collins. Excuse me, not Terrence Collins Jr. He's number 6. We don't have a number 25 on our roster, but just slammed into Merrill before he was able to catch the ball, and he had fair called it to make matters worse. So that should be at least 15. And Lane Tech might start with it in Phillips territory. It occurred at around the 38-yard line. Referees are standing there at the 38 before moving the ball. 9:34 to go in quarter number 1. And now they're going to start the long jog across the 50 all the way to the 47-yard line of Phillips. So this is going to be the second time here tonight that Lane Tech is going to start their drive without a snap in Lane Tech territory. There's 2 penalties from the Wildcats last time, brought them to around the 49-yard line of Phillips to start, this time from the 47-yard line. And really good field position here for the champions. Once again, we'll see what running plays they work up here on their second offensive possession. They fake the handoff. This one goes up the middle and stopped short there after just a couple of yards. It's like a number we did not usually see there, unless I was seeing it wrong. We'll try to check here quickly who was on that carry. Might have just been Joyce. I thought I saw a 9 and another digit, but either way, it'll be a 0-yard gain, and we'll see a 2nd down and 10 now. Scoreboard has 2nd down and 47. It is not that. It is 2nd down and 10 from the 47. Field goal range for Lane Tech this year has been around the 25, as they're going to run this one up the middle again. This time they do get a couple of yards, not a lot, but they should get it to at least the 45. Looked like the pile carry to there. It was Giannis Katsogradakis on the 2-yard carry. And we will see 3rd down and 8 now. I believe Lane Tech, that run from Casey Joyce came on 3rd down and 9. So Lane has had early success on the 1 3rd and long they have had here today. See if they can do it again. Silver lining for Lane Tech is from a position like this, most likely you're going to be able to pin them deep with a punt as well, but obviously they would like the 1st down. As Merrill's going to go in motion, they pitch it to him. He runs to the outside. As we mentioned, no one defending the outside. He gets to the 35, down to around the 33. Finally taken down there by the Wildcats' number 20, Deshaun Logan Russell, who was just chasing him down. He was situated at around the middle of the field, chased to the sideline, but we talked about that a couple of minutes ago. The way this defense is set up for Phillips, they have almost they have all 11 of their guys situated within the middle half of the field. So you can probably see it as they set up here. And I'm guessing they might spread their defense a little more here to try to avoid something like that. So Lane Tech converts on 3rd and 8. They'll have 1st and 10 from the Phillips 30-yard line, moving closer to field goal range here with 7:18 to go. This one dropped by Seward. They give it to Merrill. He almost had some room there. He gets across the 30. He's still on his feet. With forward motion, he should get to the 25 here, so that should be a 5-yard gain for Merrill. Despite the big size difference between Merrill and the guys trying to tackle him tonight, there has been no problems for the senior captain. Gets another 5. He's up to at least over 20 on the night now. Joyce still the obvious yards leader due to his 49-yard rush, but good play from those two early on. We also saw a carry from Katsogradakis. As we'll now go to 2nd and 5. Lane Tech 5 yards from the red zone for the first time here tonight. 7-6, Lane Tech with the early lead over Phillips. They give this one to Katsogradakis, who just gets taken down almost immediately. Originally was going to be for a loss of yards. I think he made it back to the line of scrimmage, so should be 3rd down and 5. Clock is going to run to about the 6-minute mark to go here in quarter number 2. So nice effort there from the Phillips defensive line. For Lane Tech, I think they're starting to notice those plays up the middle just not working super well unless they do a little trickery behind the line. But one of their big plays this year has just been that quick handoff to either Katsogradakis or mainly just to Katsogradakis, but not having that much success early on with that one as the entire defensive line is there to try to stop it. Looked like some pre-snap motion there. Merrill gets it. They hand it off to Joyce. Same play as before. Doesn't work as well, but he's going to be close to a 1st down. We'll see where they mark it, and they whistled it down. Somehow Phillips got the ball. But after the whistle was blown, and I think they're going to mark it at the 21-yard line. So that's going to bring up 4th down and 1, and now comes a really big choice for Lane Tech. This is definitely a doable field goal for Mugdom Creo. However, they're going to send Seward back. He's having a quick word of offensive coordinator Albert Reniva. And they're going to go for it on 4th and 1. So, as you mentioned, those plays up the middle, which you would usually like to see on a 4th and short situation like this, have not been working really well for Lane Tech. We'll see what they try to do. Seward under center. Same formation as always for Lane Tech. Joyce in motion. They give it to Katsogradakis, who gets the yard easily and more. This should be a no-doubter. Both the referees are at the 20. It looked like he got to the 19, but either way, that's going to be a 1st down for the champions. 4:23 to go in quarter number 2. And Lane Tech is in the red zone for the first time here tonight because their one score came from way outside of the red zone. So we'll see what Lane Tech can do. They're going to keep the clock running. And at the pace this is going, it's going to probably be a 2-minute drill whenever or however the Phillips Wildcats get the ball back. So this has been a extremely fast-paced first half of play. We saw the 10-minute drive from Phillips to start it off, and now Lane Tech playing together one of their signature long drives. Lane Tech will get the ball to start things off. Seward passing for the first time tonight. He has an open receiver. Joyce just drops it. Casey Joyce, one of his first targets of the year, just unable to pull it in. However, we did see Lane Tech caught Phillips off guard there. Unable to bring it in, but we'll see how that changes their offensive plan. It was interesting to see Jack Lydon, who's one of the local reporters here, runs a blog. He's here taking photos tonight. He talked with the offensive coordinator, Reniva, for his story last week. And Reniva had something very interesting to say, that after Lane Tech ran a passing play last week, it kind of allowed them to open up their running game because it made the defense a little softer, I believe, and they were able to run it more after they did a pass play. So we'll see if that's similar for Lane Tech here tonight. They pitch it to Merrill, who hands it off immediately to Joyce, who gets taken down pretty quickly at around the 20-yard line. So Clock will run once again with 3:40 to go. We should have a very fun halftime show coming up. I know the dancers, cheer team, majorettes, they're all working on something together. So it's going to be one big show. I think they're all performing individually as well. Not sure if the marching band's going down to the field or not, but we will see that. We'll have the full halftime show for you coming up in about 5-6 minutes or so. 3:08 on the clock and ticking. So this play will take it down to at least the 3-minute mark. 3rd down and 10 for the champions. They give it to Merrill, who gets stopped there quickly, and I imagine now is where we're going to see the field goal team come up. It's quite interesting to see that Phillips did not call timeout, and looks like they might not be calling timeout here as well, because Lane Tech's going to be able to drain this to at least about the 2:20 mark, I want to say. I didn't see when the play officially ended, but at least the 2:30, 2:20 mark, as Crayo's going to line up for it's like a 20, it's from the 28, so a 38-yard attempt. He hit from 37 last week. Michael O'Brien from the Sun-Times called it a public league rarity, and this has been one of the strengths for Lane Tech this year. They've just had kicking that actually works, unlike many of the public league schools. So we'll see if Crayo can make this a 4-point lead for Lane Tech. Snap is good, and this one blocked. This could be dangerous. A couple of players chasing after it. Whistled, not dead, and finally picked up at around the 40. One of the linemen there. It's going to be number 58 for Phillips. We'll see if we have him on our roster. We do not, so unnamed Phillips player gets the recovery, and that one just kept on rolling all the way back to the 40, looks like the 36-yard line of Lane Tech is where they're going to mark it. So Lane Tech just unable to get that kick high enough. And that tall front line for Phillips gets the block. Now they're going to finally place it at the Lane Tech 37. 1:46 to go. Phillips has 2 of their timeouts left. They spent one, I think, in the first quarter, but they don't have that far that they have to go to try to take the lead into the break against Lane Tech. Lane Tech was able to stop them defensively their last time out, mainly due to a penalty from Phillips, as Penn wide open there on the screen pass. He has room across the 30. He's still on his feet at the 20, brought down at around the 15-yard line. And that's the one play Lane Tech is going to really have to work on stopping. That screen pass to Penn has been working multiple times here today. This time Lane Tech does not get the benefit of a holding penalty, and it's going to be 1st down and 10 from the red zone for Phillips. They get it from the Lane Tech 15-yard line. Clock is still rolling. Phillips is holding on to those timeouts. Clock is malfunctioning a little bit. Was going by 2 seconds there for a quick sack, but now it's going to clock down to about 1:05. They snap it, looking up the middle, wide open, and caught in the end zone. 15-yard passing touchdown, caught by number 5, Achilles Dawson. And Phillips strikes late here in the second quarter after the blocked field goal. Takes them just 2 plays, and the Wildcats will go up 12-7. They missed a 2-point conversion on their first touchdown, so they're going to try to even it out here if they can score the 2-point conversion here and go up by a full touchdown. They motion Penn to the line of scrimmage. One guy in the backfield. Looks like they might pass to Penn. This one intercepted. They blow the whistles. Joshua had it. He's still running. Could have brought that all the way back. Finally gets tripped up there at the end of the play by Penn. I'm not sure why they whistled that dead. There's going to be a penalty called. Not sure what the late flag is. I think they might call it against Phillips, which would be very unfortunate for them. It was a late push after the ball was dead by Penn off of Joshua. I'm really not sure if you can call an unsportsmanlike conduct that late after the play on a dead ball. So either way, it's going to be another missed 2-point conversion by Phillips. They do take the lead 12-7 here with 58 seconds to go in the first half. They have not mentioned who the penalty is against officially yet. It looked like Phillips was mad, and it is going to be a personal foul against the Wildcats. So it's going to be, I believe, 15 yards, possibly 10 added to the end of this one. And we're going to see Lane Tech in a 1-minute drill, 58-second drill to be precise. I assume they're going to try to at least get in field goal range, possibly. They do have 2 of their timeouts. We saw that nice return from Jacoby Thurmond on the first kickoff return for the champions, and we'll see if they can replicate that. So it looks like the penalty is actually going to be added before the kick. So it's not going to be at the end of the kick. It's going to be 15 yards from the 40 back to the 25-yard line. Lane Tech moves all of their men back up about 10, 15 yards. That's going to be Thurmond at around the 40, Merrill and Joyce at around the 30-yard line. And we'll see how good a field position Lane Tech can get here with 58 seconds to go. By the time the run is over, it might be closer to about 50 seconds. So they go straight up the middle. Is going to be received by Thurmond. He drops it, picks it up quickly at the 35. Spin move, finally gets to the 40. There was some miscommunication there between Merrill and Thurmond. They nearly crashed into each other. They might have actually crashed into each other. I'm not sure if there was contact made or not. Either way, ball bounces off of Thurmond. Very dangerous situation there. Lane Tech is going to end up getting it at their own 41-yard line. So not horrible field position, not the best field position, but they will have about 59 yards to go to the end zone, 51 seconds left. Apologies, we have a lot of folks leaving right now before halftime, so that's why we have a couple people stepping in front of our camera, but hopefully that will be over soon as Lane Tech's going to line up, and this one's fumbled. We'll see who fell on it. I think it was Seward. They tried to hand it off to Thurmond, and seems like everything's kind of falling apart at the wrong time here right now for Lane Tech. They're not calling timeout. I think they're just going to let this roll the clock out to end the first half. They get it to start the second half. They don't want to risk anything bad happening like what almost just happened, as Seward's going to take to the huddle one more time. Clock ticking down from about 18 seconds. 12-7 the lead for Phillips over Lane Tech. I'll line up for one more play, but I assume this is going to be a kneel. Joyce in motion. They are going to run it. Joyce to the outside, has some room, so very interesting that Lane decided to actually run that play. And that's going to bring us to the end of the first half. So late misfortune there for Lane Tech off of a blocked field goal and a 15-yard pass from Winslow Jr. to Deshaun Logan Russell, I believe, for the... Excuse me, not Russell. We have our numbers wrong here. We'll try to get that, but an end of the play. Oh, it looks like we have a penalty here, so Lane Tech might have one more try at it. So Lane might run a play with 0 seconds on the clock. You don't see that often here in the high school game, but and I think it's either going to be a timeout call by Phillips or they're just going to send the teams to the locker room. So we'll wait until there's an official call from the referees, and yes, looks like that will be the end of the first half. So 12-7 the lead. Phillips on top of Lane Tech through the first half of play. We're going to send it over momentarily to the loudspeakers for the various routines we're going to see at the halftime. But first, just a little first half recap. Phillips had the ball for 10 minutes to start off the first half of play. Ended it with a short touchdown run. And they're sending the teams back onto the field. Both the teams headed to the locker room. At least Lane Tech did. And now it is going to be first down and 10 for Lane Tech with 0 seconds on the clock. They have it at the Wildcats' 47-yard line. So we'll hold off for a second before we have our halftime report, and they're just going to kneel it here. So Lane Tech kneels it to end the first half of play. So now we can officially say 12-7 at the half. Phillips leading Lane Tech. So as we were mentioning, a 10-minute drive to start things off with the Wildcats. They ended it with a touchdown. Lane Tech responded with an excellent drive, a 49-yard touchdown run from Casey Joyce. They were in field goal range late in the first half, but blocked on the 38-yard attempt from Mugdum Creo. Gave the Wildcats the ball at their Lane Tech 38-yard line. And then with that, it ended up going for a quick touchdown. They missed a 2-point conversion again, but the Wildcats will take a 5-point lead into the half. Phillip players trying to amp up the Lane Tech crowd there. Hopefully things won't get too rowdy here. It looks like the Phillips marching band, who I didn't even realize were here, are going to come onto the field. So we might have performances from both teams. We'll see that in a second. No one on the field yet. When they do go, we will move that. And just, it's really what we expected out of these two teams. It's been the errors that have given Phillips the lead for Lane Tech. On their first drive, it was a offsides penalty that gave Phillips a first down, and then on that last drive, a missed possession. As we're going to switch it here quickly to the performances, and we'll be back for a first half recap in a couple of minutes.
Take a piss so I don't move around. Thanks.
Apologies, folks. A couple of technical difficulties here, but hopefully we'll be back. Hopefully we'll be back soon. I think we should be back on. We had a couple of Wi-Fi issues here, but I think everything getting back to normal here. So we'll get you back to the halftime performances right now between the different Lane Tech teams. As here comes the Phillips marching band, and we'll talk quickly through them as they're just going to do a couple of different routines on the field. A 12-7 halftime lead here for Lane Tech over the, for Phillips over the champions of Lane Tech. It was a strong start for Lane, who recovered after an early touchdown from Phillips off of a 49-yard touchdown from Casey Joyce. Then things slowed down for Lane Tech at the end of the half. They had a late field goal block that ended up being a Phillips touchdown after a couple of quick plays by the Wildcats. And then in the latter stages of the half, we saw a botched handoff from Mark Stewart. Luckily, Lane Tech recovered it. However, they did have they butchered an opportunity there at the end to have any possibility of a late run at the score. So sorry, folks, our audio is probably a little off there, just adjusting that quickly here. But as we were saying, they messed up a late opportunity to possibly tie it up or take the lead. They will get that opportunity again here in a couple of minutes, as looked like Phillips won the toss, elected to receive. So Lane Tech will start off the third quarter with the ball. Thank you so much for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Stadium on senior night. Lane Tech trailing Phillips, but a great crowd on hand for some Friday night lights. Phillips still performing with their marching band on the field. I think our stream went out at the very end, so it might have missed the joint performance, short performance with the cheer team, dance team, and majorette team seniors, but as always, a very cool night of action here from Lane Stadium, honoring all the different seniors from a variety of clubs. Obviously, the football players first and foremost, but cheerleaders, dance team as well. Cool seeing all the different players get honored here on, all the different students get honored here on this Friday night. We have just about 5 minutes to go in the halftime break. Not sure if that's going to end up going longer, because it gave just 15 minutes for halftime. Usually what happens is they give 15 minutes and then they add 2 minutes for both the teams to warm up. But we'll see what they end up doing. Both the teams are still in their locker rooms, we should mention, as we get to the 5-minute mark to go. So some things that we should look for going into the second half of play. For those of you just joining us, it's really going to be about Lane Tech just trying to clean up the errors that they had on the defensive side of the ball, both penalties and giving up some long yardage plays. And really the one player that we have to watch is going to be number 11, Dylan Penn, who we hope we are identifying correct. We know it's number 11 on the field. He was number 11 on the roster, so we're assuming it's the senior Penn who's had the really good night. It seems like whenever the Wildcats give the ball to him, he almost immediately goes for about 10-15 yards, and that's just really hard for a football team trying to have any sort of momentum. So we'll see if they can work on that heading into this second half of play. It looked like early on the Wildcats were going to be kind of dependent on their passing game. We had a couple of early targets for Ryan McDonald. He could not really pull them through, and since then he's been kind of quiet. And then on the end of this second half, we saw mostly running. They had a 15-yard passing touchdown, which obviously showed that they do have a passing game still, but for the most part, it was just a lot of rushing out of this Phillips Wildcats team, and screen passes, which are short passes, going to rushing, and Lane Tech just unable to stop both the speed and the size of this Wildcats team. So that's going to be what they try to clean up here. Got to give a shout out to this Phillips band. They only have about 4 drummers, 4 dancers, and it looks like a conductor here, but they're putting on quite the show here, as you can see on your screen. small but mighty band for the Wildcats. As we reach the 3-minute mark to go here in the halftime break, that we assume is going to be more like 5 minutes because of the shorter halftime than usual, just 15 minutes instead of 20 on the clock. Take a look around the rest of the conference this week for Lane Tech. As we mentioned, this is the de facto conference championship game because Lane Tech or Phillips, whoever wins this is going to have no losses and just one game left. So even if they lose next week, the other school is going to have one loss, and Lane Tech or Phillips will have the tiebreaker over the other team. So most likely we're going to see the winner of this take home the conference title for the Red North, but this is an even more important game for Phillips than it is for Lane Tech. One could argue they come into tonight's matchup 3-3. If they lose this one, they're 3-4, and you need 5 wins to be considered for at-large consideration. Next week, this Phillips team has a matchup with, I know I wrote this down, sorry folks, they have a matchup with Clark at home, so that should be a win for Phillips. However, week 9, they're playing at Kenwood. That's going to be a very tough matchup Friday night. Two teams that I assume do not like each other very much, rivals. And we will see if, but that could be the factor on whether Phillips, who's been a perennial powerhouse in whatever, Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, folks, we'll be right back. Sorry about that. No, you're good. You're good. Sorry, folks, just doing a quick camera fix there. Shout out to a couple of the JV players who have been running the camera for us on this Friday night, making our job broadcasting a lot easier as Lane Tech's going to take the field here near the end of halftime. It'll be Lane Tech possession to start off the second half of play here from Lane Stadium. A couple of fans filing out, but most hanging on to their seats here for what should be a fun second half of action. So we talked about what's upcoming for Phillips. Now we'll talk about what's upcoming for this Lane Tech football team, who are going to hit the road for their final 2 matches of the season. First off, it's going to be a date with Westinghouse on the road next Saturday. That is set for a kickoff at 1 p.m. on the road, and then 12 p.m. on the road. And then in 2 weeks, they're taking on Simeon, who's ranked currently number 5 in the Chicagoland area by the Sun-Times. They're one of the top talents in the Chicagoland area. They have been for the past couple of years, but this year seems to really be the breakthrough year for the Wildcats. And I've been talking to a couple of players this week, and it seems like the consensus really is that Week 8 game might be the deciding factor on how this Lane Tech team gets seeded in the state playoffs. We know they're going to be in the state playoffs because they had their victory last week against Clark to get them to that 6-win mark. But the last time Lane Tech made it into the state playoffs, they ended up being a 16 seed, and that's when they used to seed it 1-16 and 1-16. So Lane Tech was the last seed. They had to face off against top-seeded Loyola to start off the postseason. Lost that one by by over 40 points. So Lane Tech is hoping that they can have much better seeding for this new time, this new era of Lane Tech football, where they trying to establish just a new era of dominance. Lane Tech used to be one of the powerhouses in the state, has not been that much of the case in the last 15, 20 plus years or so. As long as I've been alive, this Lane Tech team has just not been as strong as they used to be. They've had some strong players and whatnot, but they just have not reached that consistent contender status in the city, and obviously looking to improve in the state as well that they used to have. So we will see if Lane Tech can get back to that, and this matchup is really a good test of that against this Phillips team that has been such a traditional powerhouse. If Lane Tech can get a win here tonight, that's going to be big for them. Our binoculars, which we've been using to spot players, are currently stuck in a couple cords, so we're going to take off the headset for a second, try to get that all good for the second half. We'll be back in just a minute, 90 seconds to go in halftime, and then we have 24 minutes to determine the conference champion here at Lane Stadium. As the buzzer rings to signal the end of halftime, we are ready for a fun second half of play here from Lane Stadium. Lane Tech and Phillips competing for the Red North Chicago Public League title. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Alex Burstein above the 50-yard line here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. We are set for what should be a fun second half of play between Lane Tech and Phillips. Lane Tech just meeting in a huddle right now, which you can see on your screen. For some last-minute pep from their coaches and captains before the second half of play. For those of you just joining us, it will be Lane Tech possession to start off this second half of play. They Phillips, it looked like, won the coin toss. They elected to receive. They did good stuff with that first possession, but now Lane Tech's going to look to have a very similar drive to the second half that Phillips had in the first half. We saw Phillips take the ball for 10 minutes to start off the game, ended it with a touchdown. It was very reminiscent to what we saw last week. Lane Tech took the ball in the second half. They were up about 14-0, I want to say. They ended it with a 37-yard field goal from Mugdom Creo, but they went up the field 11 minutes and 3 seconds here in last week's game to start off the third quarter. So we'll see if Lane Tech can do something similar here as Phillips comes out onto the field. 12 minutes on the clock. Fans still in their seats here at Lane Stadium. We have the band playing, the flags team dancing in the end zone. An excellent atmosphere here as we get ready for second half action between Phillips and Lane Tech here for some Friday Night Lights action. It's been a lot of fun so far, and obviously second half usually funner than the first half, so we will see if the first half can be topped here in the second 24 minutes. Lane Tech's usual players back to receive. Thurmond in the middle with Joyce and Merrill a little bit back. This one taken from the right hash mark. Merrill gets it at around the 20. He finds an outside lane. He's at the 40, still on his feet at the 50. Finally knocked out of bounds there at the end by number 34 for the Wildcats. But an excellent run there by Merrill. He goes for about 30 yards. And Lane Tech's going to start with possession. They might mark it right at the 50-yard line. They will. So neither side of the field to start off things here in the second half. They're going to have it exactly at midfield. Took 8 seconds on that return from Merrill, so they'll be 11:52 as Lane Tech. We'll see if their offense can get things going. What we saw in the first half, running up the middle, was not working. What was working, finding the outsides, trying to beat the fast linebackers on this squad, as Joyce is going to take the pitch, but went for 0 yards there. Lane's game is very centered on this 3 or 4 yard approach. They try to get 3 or 4 yards every single rush, and then they can convert on third and short. Tonight, that really hasn't worked. They've had a lot of third and longs, and what's happened for them, there seems to either be getting 0 yards on the run, or they get 15 or 20 from either Merrill or Joyce, and that's how they keep their runs, or that's how they keep their drives going. So different style of offense tonight for Lane Tech as they try to adjust to this Phillips defense. Merrill in motion. They pitch to him. He's coming to the outside. A couple of linebackers got there quickly. He's going to be dropped for a loss. Let's see where they mark him. Might be right at the 50, so it'll be 3rd and 10. Lane Tech had really good field position here, but they're close to squandering it if they can't do anything here. Obviously too far for a field goal attempt. It's like Merrill coming off the field here. Hopefully he's okay. So Lane Tech's going to be without their top rusher here for the 3rd and long attempt. Katsogradakis, Joyce, and I believe Alex Lagis there in for the first time here tonight. In the double wing formation, we see motion from Joyce. Seward's going to drop back to pass. He throws this one, caught by Lagis, who gets taken down almost immediately there. On the coverage, number 8, Javis Robinson, who also committed to NIU this week. We talked about Ryan McDonald committing there earlier on the broadcast. 2 of these Phillips players committed to be Wildcats, and they actually marked that a lot further than I thought it would. It looked like he got tackled at around the 6-yard mark, which would have made it about 4th and 4. They give, I believe that was Lagis on the catch, about 8 yards there. So it's going to be 4th down and 2. Lane Tech decides to keep their offense on the field, try to keep this drive going. They've only taken 2.5 minutes off the clock. They, for some reason, don't convert. It would not be a great field position for Phillips. They're still on their side of the field. Looks like some movement there. They're going to do a quick pass to Merrill, and very interesting play call there from Lane Tech. They tried to rush the play. Seward, who just has not had much experience passing the ball this year, throws a pass way too short there on the 4th down try. I think Merrill probably would have gotten it had he had the opportunity to catch it. However, pass just a little too low, and Phillips is going to take over at their own 42-yard line. So they'll have to go 58 yards for a touchdown possibly here. 12-7 lead for the Wildcats over Lane Tech. So definitely not the start to the 3rd quarter that you would have wanted if you're a Lane Tech fan. They only take about 2:40 off the clock, and they do not get a first down. Got close to it, but unable to convert on 4th down. They're going to run it to the outside. Open room here at the 40. TJ Harper finally gets a tackle there of number 5, Achilles Dawson, who listed as a wide receiver, but they put him in as a running back there. Just went from the right side of the ball, came immediately across, handoff from number 4, Joseph Winslow Jr., and he goes for almost 20 yards on that one. It'll be 1st and 10 from the Phillips 38. So Lane Tech still struggling to stop this explosive Phillips offense. That's really the only word you can use to describe it. As Phillips is going to continue to let the clock run here. 8:40. Going to go up the middle. Number 0, who's had an excellent night, gets across the 30 for the first down to about the 25. Once again, apologies, folks. We did not get a great roster from Phillips, so we do not have a name for number 0. We only have a couple of them on this Max Preps roster, but he's had an excellent night as one of the running backs they've rotated into this game, and he has Phillips in striking distance of another touchdown here, which would put them up by at least 11 points. So they can make this a 2-possession game for the first time here tonight. Winslow's going to take this one in shotgun, hands it off. This one bobbled, finally caught by number 0. Harper's there on the coverage, has to push him down, but that should be good for first down yardage. Once again, they're going to continue to move the chains, and Phillips taking control of this game so far in the second half on the defensive side of things and on the offensive side of things. They're going to have 1st down and 10 from the 14-yard line. And this was kind of the concern for Lane Tech, stopping those passing plays. That was really just a screen pass to the right-hand side, bobbled by the Phillips intended receiver, but he brings it down for the catch. And the Wildcats now rolling. Winslow goes to left-hand side. This one picked off Lane Tech's going to get the possession back and brought all the way down to the 46. And do I believe it? It is Zach Joshua again. For those of you who have been following Lane Tech football this year, you will know week 2 against TS South, Zach Joshua sealed the game. For those of you who follow it even closer, you'll know this is his first year playing varsity football or playing football overall at Lane Tech. And the senior comes up with a clutch interception here that gives Lane Tech the ball at the Phillips 48-yard line. 7:11 to go in quarter number 3. And just like that, it looked like Phillips was going to make this a 2-possession game, but now we're back to where it all started. Lane Tech with very similar position to how they started off this half. Joyce is going to lose the ball, and just like that, the Wildcats look like they get it back. So, yes, they're going to give it to the Wildcats. Missed a handoff there to Joyce. Lane Tech has not had a lot of fumbles this year, but they get one there. And one play after Zach Joshua comes up with a clutch interception, Lane Tech gives the possession almost immediately back to the Wildcats. Not what you want to see if you're the Lane Tech coaching staff right now, but they did it once. We'll see if they can do it again on the interception side of things. 7:04 to go, quarter number 3 of play. 1st and 10 from the 45-yard line of Lane Tech. So short field now for the Wildcats, who do good things when they have short fields to go, but maybe Lane Tech can put a change to that here. Winslow in the backfield. They hand it off to Penn. He goes up the middle, stuffed immediately. Looked like butt maybe there on the tackle, and loss of yardage there. We've seen some stops at the line of scrimmage. Not a lot of loss of yardage plays, but this one they are going to move it back to the 46, so it'll be 2nd down and 11. Momentum, can't really give it to either team right now. I think it's more of sloppy play from both of them. Winslow just totally sold his pass. It was a nice interception by Joshua, but we could see where he was throwing it immediately as he looked to his left-hand side, and Joshua read it well. And then an error from Joyce there. I'm not sure. It might have been whoever was handing it off there. But a couple of sloppy plays from these two teams. Winslow, possible another interception. They will. It is Joshua again. Zach Joshua with 2 interceptions in as many minutes. Winslow is just having a lot of trouble with these passes. You can see they're bobbly out of his hands. They're not as crisp as we have seen him throw it this season. And Lane Tech now is going to have their best field position of the half at the Phillips 41-yard line. And Zach Joshua, have yourself a night. 2 interceptions in, we said 2 minutes. I think that's going to be about a minute of game clock. And we will see if Lane Tech can do anything with it this time. So Lane has been given ample opportunities here. This is their 3rd possession in the first 6 minutes of the second half. They've yet to score any points. We'll see what they can do here. Joyce with motion. They're going to have Seward throw it. Gets quickly pressure and brought down there fast by number 21, Renard Willis, the junior defensive ends, for a loss of yardage. And Lane Tech has been using the pass more than we've seen them use it at all this season. The biggest problem, that goes for a loss of, oh wow, that goes for a loss of 7 yards. So 2nd and 17, looked like it was going to be only a couple, but loss of 17 for Mark Seward. But the big problem is Seward just does not look super comfortable whenever he's throwing the ball because he just has so little experience with it. And the D-line just did not, the offensive line just did not hold up there against the Wildcats' big front 5 or 6. And they go for the first sack of the night. This will be a toss to Joyce, hands it off to Merrill for another loss of yardage. And now we're going to have 3rd down and 19. And Lane Tech, who was once again gifted very good field position off of a Zach Joshua interception, his 2nd of the night, is getting kind of close to squandering it again unless they can convert on the 3rd and long here. 4:50 to go, quarter number 3. Despite all the change in possession, this has continued to be a fast-moving third quarter, as has really the entire game has been a pretty quick pace. We started late, but you wouldn't really know it by the time based on how these teams have been playing and the rushing. They're going to give it to Joyce to the outside. Has some nice blocking there by Katsogradakis, but finally gets taken down after just about 3 or 4 yards, and they're going to have to send the punt team on. So Lane Tech will look to pin Phillips deep, but on their third try here of the second half, they're still unable to find the scoreboard. The only scoring of the day so far, 49 yards on a touchdown run from Casey Joyce early in quarter number 2. Since then, the offense has been pretty quiet against what has been a very stark defensive line. The Phillips receiver is going to be all the way back at the 10-yard line. Joyce has had a pretty good boot on his punts this year. Second-year kicker for Lane Tech on the varsity level. This one, he just barely gets off. It's going to bounce to around the 15 and gets tackled almost immediately there. So Phillips will have it deep in their own half of the field. Olsen did a really good job of getting that one off. Whoever that was for Phillips, one of the linemen there, had some excellent speed, got to Olsen pretty quickly, somehow avoided a penalty as well. Looked like there was some contact. Referees do not call it, and it instead is going to be a clean punt to the 15-yard line, where Phillips will start off their third possession here in half number 2. Like Lane Tech, they have squandered both their opportunities. They've gotten a little closer, but Zach Shoshua has had 2 interceptions to keep the Wildcats off the board. We'll see. Maybe he can go for the hat trick here. We'll see. Lane Tech in a defensive formation that's really readying for the pass. We see some late motion here to the left-hand side. Winslow hands it off to Penn, breaks a couple of tackles for finally being taken down around the 20. Ball is out, and whistle blew very early there. Lane Tech not happy with that one. Looked like it just slipped out of his arm, and Lane Tech was going to get the ball back nearly in the red zone. Instead, they say the knee of Penn was down. Lucky break there for Phillips, who get about 6 yards on the play. Scoreboard has 7, so we'll go with that. So it'll be 2nd down and 3 from the 21-yard line of Phillips. Some sloppy play here. It's not wet conditions at all. The rain was all this morning. Field seems to have dried. The only bad weather element right now is it's getting pretty cold, as breakaway run here by Penn. He breaks another tackle, finally tripped down there at the end by, looks like, number 80, Charles Duncan. I believe, yes, he gets the late tackle, but Penn saw the open field in front of him, almost took it all the way to the house. And it's going to be 1st down and 10 from exactly the Lane Tech 40-yard line. All the Phillips turnovers have come on the Lane Tech side of the field. And I'm sure Lane Tech right now is really wishing there was instant replay at the high school level, because if there was, we assume that Lane would have gotten possession a couple of minutes ago. It's interesting, we have not seen Phillips go to that Wildcat direct snap yet here tonight, and they're going to stick with that, it seems like, here, as Winslow is going to go in the backfield. Running backs to his right and to his left take the snap. They hand it off to number 0, wide open up the middle. Duncan trying to get the tackle. He can't. Late tackle attempt and dancing into the end zone there for his 2nd touchdown of the night. Is our mystery Phillips player, and Phillips now is taking an 11-point lead in this one. They can make it a 13-point lead if they successfully convert the 2-point conversion. And the way that Lane Tech's offense has been playing, they're going to need a serious reawakening here at the end of this third quarter and start of the 4th quarter if they want to contend against this Phillips team. Lane Tech trying to avoid their first loss of the year, came into tonight with a 6-0 record. But this Phillips team definitely proving to be the toughest opponent yet for Lane Tech. They do a direct snap here up the middle. Stop short of the goal line, I want to say. See what the referees say. And they'll say it goes in and is good. So Phillips will increase their lead to 13. They go up 20-7 now. And now comes what may be the most important drive of the day for Lane Tech. So we've seen a lot of errors out of Lane Tech here offensively. They had 3 chances to score. They started off the half with the ball. Then they had 2 interceptions from Zach Joshua, which gave them possession inside the Phillips half of play. But I don't think they've converted a first down yet here in the second half of play. They just have really struggled moving the ball. And we will see if they can change that here. It will be the usual formation for Lane Tech, back to kick. There's no Jacoby Thurman on the field right now, and it looks like there's actually going to be a change. They're going to send number 2, Julian Vickery, who I'm not sure if we've seen take the field yet this year, come out to the field. Not sure where Thurman is, but it'll be Vickery standing at the 25-yard line. Standing at just 5'7", one of the smaller players, if not the smallest player on the field right now. They do a chip kick to Merrill at around the 25, takes it to the outside, gets to about the 30 before being taken down quickly. So Lane Tech will have their worst starting field position of the half here with 1:40 to go, and we'll see if they can do anything in the 100 seconds they have left. Obviously, they will have possession if they cannot do anything to start off the 4th, as it's not the end of a half. But if you're Lane Tech, you'd obviously like to see an offense that can do something quick if possible. End up marking it at the 32-yard line. 27, the Wildcats lead over the Lane Tech champions here on this Friday night. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Stadium. Lane's been more reliant on the pass game than usual, as Katsogradakis goes up the middle, fighting for about 3 yards here. I think they may give him 3, may give him 4. And looks like the near referee is standing at exactly the 35-yard line, so that's going to go for a 3-yard gain, 2nd and 7. Lane Tech really has not had to play from behind this year, and this is going to be a real interesting test because the Lane Tech offense is one that likes to take lots of time off the clock, do these long 10-minute drives, 11-minute drives. When you're down by multiple scores, that doesn't really work. So Lane's going to have to play probably with a much quicker offense as they pitch this one to Joyce to the right side, and he gets dropped for a loss of yardage. This is what Lane Tech's been getting closer and closer to. We've seen Whitney Young figure out Lane's offense in the second half, as we are going to have a player on the ground now. That might be Joyce. We want to wait until we see an actual number, but this would be big loss for Lane Tech. But as we were saying, we saw Whitney Young figure out Lane Tech's offense in the second half. We saw Taft figure out Lane Tech's offense in the second half. We even saw Clark kind of slow down Lane Tech offense in the second half. But Phillips is the first team. They figured out Lane's offense really from the start after that Joyce touchdown. And not only have they figured it out, they've also been able to act on it. They've had their D-line playing very well, as looks like Joyce is going to be able to walk off the field on his own. That's a good sign for Lane Tech fans, but I assume he will be out for at least the next couple of plays. We'll see how that develops throughout the rest of the quarter. We'll also see how this adjusts Lane Tech's offense. I assume they would not change out of a double wing because I'm really not sure if these players would know what to do. But you never know as they're trying for a late comeback. Not sure if we've seen Seward take a snap out of shotgun yet this year. He's been under center, I think, every single play as the clock ticks to 30 seconds to go here in the third quarter. They're going to stick with their formation. Looks like they have Alex Lagis in as the replacement right now from the near side. Hand it off to him, back to Merrill. Merrill up the middle. That's going to be good for first down yardage. We did see a late flag there. It's about 2 guys from both teams pulling at each other, so we'll see which team this is most likely holding on. Referee's walking back towards Lane Tech, which makes me assume this might be coming back, and it will be. So nice run there by Merrill, gets taken away by the penalty, and another error here from Lane Tech. Leads them into a long yardage third down situation. This one they're going to bring. It was marked at the first down yardage. Lane's standing back. None of the referees have moved the ball yet, and they're talking things over with the coaching staff now. Not sure when, if, or where they're going to move this ball. Currently standing at the 38-yard line. And we've still yet to see a referee pick it up. 11 seconds on the game clock, and now they're going to run it all the way back to the 28-yard line. So it went from the 42 to the 28, and now we're going to see third down and 14 for Lane Tech. We saw the whole chains move. So we don't have a first down marker anymore. I think they're realizing quickly that that was an error. I don't think that was a first down for Lane Tech, as Seward drops back to pass, and he gets taken down for a sack to end the third quarter. And that will bring up fourth down. But first, a intermission here at Lane Stadium as the buzzer ends. Seward took a rough hit there. His 2 drop back attempts here today, or he's had maybe 3 or 4, but at least 2 of them taken for sacks now. He's had some trouble just getting the ball off in time. And now we'll see if Lane Tech can work a miracle in quarter number 4. They trail by 13 and are most likely going to be punting here to start off quarter number 4. So we'll see where it ends up getting marked. There was some confusion there with both the markers. The first down marker got moved at the wrong place. And also right now the marker showing second down, which I'm pretty sure it's not, unless they gave Lane Tech which maybe they did. Maybe they gave Lane Tech the first down, then they had the penalty committed, and that might have been what happened. So it looks like it might be second down and long for Lane Tech, maybe second and 14. That's what the scoreboard has. Looks like it's a little closer to second and 15. But either way, Lane Tech's not going to have to send their punt team on the field. So lucky break there for Lane Tech. Apologies, folks. We have that slightly wrong for a second on what was happening with the end of the third quarter. And Lane will keep possession, badly needing a score here. All the referees just standing around talking. I think there's some general confusion from all parties after these last couple of plays. Now they're going to get everything set. Of course, switching sides of the field doesn't make it any less confusing. If anything, probably make it more confusing, but it'll be second down and 15 for Lane Tech from their own 23-yard line. They hand it off to Merrill. He goes up the middle and gets right back to the line of scrimmage, where they will keep it at third and 15 now. So Lane might have to go back to a passing play here, which they have not had a lot of success doing on third and long. Clock is going to keep on ticking, and a clock that has been the friend for Lane Tech all year long is slowly turning into an enemy here in quarter number 4. Lane working against a clock that has seemed to tick very, very fast here today. There's not been a lot of stoppages. There's not been a lot of incompletions from Phillips, and there's also not been a lot of most of the plays have been runs from both teams, as they're going to run it on third and 15. Looks like Lag is there on the carry. He gets dropped for a couple of yards there. And Lane Tech continuing to go with those same plays as always that just have not had any success here. as they're going to send the punt team on with 10:50 to go. Olson's going to be standing at around the 10-yard line. Back to receive for the Wildcats is going to be number 1, Ryan McDonald, the senior wide receiver who's had a quiet day here today, has not had that much. I don't know if he's had any receptions after a couple of early targets, but if he can field this punt cleanly, I'm sure his team will be happy with him. Phillips, if they play this correctly, can take a lot of time off the clock with this possession. And as long as we don't see any turnovers or anything, this could be a gut-punching drive for Lane Tech, and that's going to be a blocked punt into the end zone. Almost recover. It's going to go back into the end zone. That should be a touchback. And I think Phillips is going to get possession around 45. I'm actually not sure what the call is. It was blocked here. The chances could go for a safety because it actually is not the end zone of where Phillips would get a touchback. So the chance is going to go for 2 points. It almost was a touchdown. One of the Phillips players was just chasing that into the left side of the end zone. And they are going to call the safety. So Phillips gets a quick 2 points to go up now by 15, stretching it to basically a 3-point possession unless Lane Tech goes a 3-possession game, I should say, unless Lane goes for 2-point conversions. And also Phillips is going to get the ball now. So this is the first safety we have seen all season long in a Lane Tech game. I can't say I'm surprised to see it coming. We saw these solid, speedy rushers for Phillips getting closer and closer to Olson every single time he's had to punt the ball, and that time could not get it off quick enough despite trying to maneuver and kick it at the same time. Goes for a blocked punt into the end zone. That's a safety. And Phillips will take a 15-point lead, 22-7 with 10:07 to go. So Phillips will still have the potential to run out the clock here for at least a little bit. Both teams have 3 timeouts. Not sure at what point you start using your timeouts, as McDonald gets this, running up the sideline. He's at the 40, breaks to 30. He might go all the way, finally taken down there at the end. An excellent return there from the Phillips returner. It looked like that was not McDonald. Looks like we have number 4 possibly here, who on our roster is Winslow Jr., who I assume was not back there. So nevertheless, a very good return there. They're going to mark it down at the 19-yard line for the Wildcats. And they have a chance to pretty much put this game away with a touchdown. 9:57 on the clock here in quarter number 4. A touchdown would put them up by at least 21 here. And if they go for 2, they could make this up to a 4-possession game, as Lane Tech's going to call their first timeout here of half number 2. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Stadium. It's a very exciting first half. Quick action between these two teams. Lane Tech was in it, 12-7 at the half. They had it to start off the second half. Couldn't do anything with it. 2 interceptions meant that Lane Tech got possession again and again, could not do anything with it. And now a 3-and-out is showing that this defensive side of the ball for Phillips just proving a little too much for Lane Tech. I'm really not sure what you would say has been more impressive for Phillips today. This is a team that can do a lot of explosive chunk plays for 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards. And but on the defensive side of things, they just have not had any, they just have not given up anything to Lane Tech since that early run by Casey Joyce. So both sides of the ball working very well for Phillips. If you told me this was a 3-3 team entering tonight, I probably would not have believed you if I had not done my prep, as Winslow is going to drop the snap. Fell on it immediately. A couple of Lane Tech players are rushing there, including Katsogradakis, to try to fall on the ball. Can't do it, but it will be a loss of yardage on first down for the Wildcats. Lane taking anything they can get at this point. Clock's going to continue to tick. It was an interesting call there for Lane Tech to call the timeout, as the clock had already been stopped, as it was a return. That was more of a strategy timeout to talk things over with players versus a strategy timeout to just stop the clock. Hopefully that will not come back to bite Lane Tech, should they somehow make a comeback in this one, as number 0 on the return, Joshua, there for the quick tackle after a gain of about 5 or 6 yards. Should get back to the original line of scrimmage. They marked the original drop by Winslow back a lot further than I originally thought they would. Now they're going to give him about 5, number 0, about 5 on the carry. And we'll go to 3rd and 11 with 8:50 to go. Fans slowly filing out of Lane Stadium. Good turnout from the Lane Tech faithful here tonight, but they see that this game mostly over, as Winslow's going to aim towards the end zone, possibly another interception. That one's going to be tipped away at the last moment, possibly, I believe, by Merrill there, who got up on a big jump to punch it away, and that will bring up 4th and 11. Phillips has not kicked a point after attempt this game, which is why I assume they would not here. They're meeting near their sideline. They did not call a timeout, but I think they're deciding right now whether to go for it or not. They do send Winslow Jr. back to it. So if Lane Tech could come up with a stop here, the game wouldn't really 100% be over. Lane could come down the field, make it a one-possession game, but they're going to need a stop here on 4th down and 11. Then comes the harder task of figuring out how to get this offense to work right now for Lane Tech. But first, the defense has to do its job. Motion, Penn on it, almost tackled there by Nikwe. A couple of other missed tackles. Finally bringing him down there was Katsogradakis, short of the target line for the Wildcats, so that will be a turnover on downs. Lane Tech will start with the ball way back in their own territory. Not sure where they ended up marking that final play. I believe at around the 18-yard line or so. So Lane will have about 82 yards to go to try to cut this to an 8-point lead. At this point, Lane Tech trailing by 15, so they would need 2 touchdowns, 1 with a point after, 1 with a 2-point conversion just to tie it. Still a lot of time on the clock, but this is a Lane Tech defense that, this is a Lane Tech offense that takes lots of time off the clock with each one of their plays. As Seward dropped back for the pass here. They didn't blow the whistle until the very end there. Seward's still on the ground. He gets up quickly. That was strange. He threw the ball at the ground. Looked like it was going to be a definite incompletion. A couple of Phillips players saw the ball bouncing around. They bounced it into the end zone. After a couple more bounces, if anyone falling on it, they ended up blowing the whistle, and we'll go to 2nd and 10 there, but almost was another touchdown there for the Wildcats. That will stop the clock at 8:10 here. Never ended up getting as cold as we thought it was going to be here at Lane Stadium. Not sure what the official temperature was, still in the 45 or 50s, but the wind really held off here tonight. There's not been any wind, and it's kept for pretty good game conditions here, as going to try to run it on 2nd down, and unable to get anything there is Merrill. Looks like that's going to be a big loss of yardage there. Didn't realize how far back Merrill ran there after getting the snap. That's going to bring them all the way down to about their own 5-yard line. So it's going to be 3rd and 17 now from their own 6 for Lane Tech. And this is actually a very tough play because you originally want to pass the ball. However, Seward has been getting just knocked around by this defensive line. So I assume you would rather him not having to drop back to pass. They are just going to run it up the middle for a gain of maybe 1, maybe 0. And now they'll send the punt team on, and Olsen's going to be standing in the end zone. The last time Lane Tech attempted a punt, it got blocked for a safety. Phillips almost recovered it in the end zone, but ended up being a little bit short. And it's going to be very interesting to see how Lane Tech adjusts from a game like this heading into next week, where they take on a Westinghouse team that not as strong as Phillips, but they've had some good games this year. They can score the football. I'm sure they're going to be ready with film from this game to see what Lane Tech has. So it's just going to be very interesting to see if Lane Tech changes up their offense at all, or if that's going to kind of continue to be a struggle for Lane. Olsen just gets this one off a line drive punt received at around the 37 for McDonald. He goes to the outside, to the 20, to the 10, all the way to the end zone. 37-yard punt return touchdown for Ryan McDonald. What a week he's had. Committed to play D1 football earlier this week. Now he has a punt return touchdown for the Dagger in this one. And the Phillips Wildcats have gone up 28-7. Just a completely different Lane Tech team on the field from what we've seen at other points in this season. I hesitate to say stuff like that because you do have to give a lot of credit to this Phillips squad. They've been very impressive these last couple of weeks. You saw what they did last week against Whitney Young, but it makes you wonder what flicked on for this Phillips team, who looks like they may actually be going for the kick, because 2 weeks ago, it was a 3-point win for Phillips over Taft, the team that Lane Tech beat by more than that. Lane Tech won that one by, I want to say, 9. I can check that quickly, but Phillips was struggling against Taft. They were struggling against Westinghouse, only won that one by 2. They lost their first 3 games of the year to good teams, but they weren't really even competitive in those, as this kick's going to be blocked and caught in the end zone. It's like there by Duncan, but he won't run it back. And that will move the score to 28-7. But as we were saying, this Phillips team was not competitive for the first 3 weeks of the season, and one could even say the first 5 weeks of the year, this Phillips team kind of struggled. Last week, they turned it on against Whitney Young, 42-7 win over the Dolphins, and that's where we really saw this offensive and defensive firepower. And now they've turned it on again here tonight against Lane Tech as they move this to a 21-point lead now over the champions. And it's just going to be interesting to see. I mean, Phillips, if you look at their losses, you may say not really contender in the state playoffs. I'm actually not sure what class Phillips is competing in now. They've gone through a couple of different classes. They usually petition up to play in a harder state playoff game, but I mean, you can never count out Phillips when it comes to playoff time. They're likely to get their 4th win here tonight with 6:16 to go in the 4th quarter. And with that, they move 1 away from an at-large bid. I assume with the losses they've had, they would easily get a late bid to the state playoffs. And then Kenwood, week 9, Phillips-Kenwood, that's going to be a good game. Kenwood has a lot of talent, but they've struggled in a couple of games. Last week, losing to Morgan Park. And then Phillips, they seem to be hitting their stride. So that's going to be a really good week 9 game as Merrill takes this one to the 25-yard line. Phillips sideline still very hyped up after this one. Not sure if Phillips is going to send in their backups here with the 3-touchdown lead now. I know they played their starters against Whitney Young until pretty late in that last contest. Not sure if there will be a change in that in tonight's matchup. I think this is the most hyped we've seen Phillips, their players, all night long. Lane is going to keep their starters in. We just have not had much success here in the second half. So we'll see. Maybe Lane Tech will experiment with some new plays here late in this game. You don't have much to lose in this one. As we mentioned, next week, Lane Tech taking on Westinghouse on the road, and then comes their toughest test yet. Yes, this is not going to be their toughest test of the regular season. It'll be a Week 9 matchup against Simeon, and Lane's going to definitely have some adjustments to make before they play against head coach Diedrich DeWalt's alma mater on the road. As the first down pitch goes for no yardage there. We'll go to 2nd and 10. Looked like it was Merrill there on the coverage. Seward's going to come back to the sideline to have a word with offensive coordinator Albert Reneva. It's interesting. Lane Seward the whole year has been doing that. They go basically to the sideline after not every play, but most plays. In this Lane Tech offense where there's only so many plays, at least as a broadcaster, we can recognize, he seems to like to go and have the confirmation of what play they're doing every single time. They don't really go with any no-huddle offenses, or they really keep the pace of the game going pretty quickly with the clock ticking, I should say, as Seward throws it way too far up the middle. Intended receiver there, looks like number 34, Alex Lagis, his second target of the night. This one just goes a little too far. I will say that's probably the most sturdy pass we have seen from the year from Mark Seward. He's had a couple of completions, but all of them have been a little bit shaky, so it's good to see if you're a Lane Tech fan. It seems like Seward gained a little bit more control under his spirals and whatnot, but that one just goes a little too far off his arm to bring up 3rd down and 10 now for Lane Tech from their own 25-yard line. 5:06 left in quarter number 4. Lane hoping to find the end zone for the first time since 11 minutes to go in quarter number 2. Seward drops back again, this one intended towards Merrill, and another incompletion here from Seward. Just having a hard time landing these passes here on his senior nights. This roster does have 3 quarterbacks on it. We've only, I think 3, at least 2. We saw Noah Mayra come in late against Hubbard when Lane Tech was up big. But for the most part, we've only seen a select number of players take the field for Lane Tech, as Olson's going to be back to punt here. McDonald on the reception, obviously had that punt return touchdown on his last attempt at running it back. I'm sure he'd love to do that again. 5 minutes exactly on the clock to go here in the matchup between Lane Tech and Phillips. Phillips on their way to clinching the Red North Conference title. As we mentioned earlier in this broadcast, Phillips has just dominated conference play. I think the last loss they had, 2013, McDonald fumbled that there. I think he ended up falling at it around the 50-yard line, but Lane Tech almost had a chance. I believe Joshua and Duncan were both there quickly trying to receive it, but the Wildcats will keep possession with 4:50 to go. Lane Tech with 2 timeouts. I assume they will not be using them. We have not really seen the Phillips offense slow down at all. They've still been going for their explosive plays. They want to see how far they can take this score, currently with 28 points. I don't think they'll reach their season high of 42 last week against the Dolphins, but other than that, this is going to be their second highest scoring game of the year. They had 6 against Batavia, none against Mount Carmel, 12 to Morgan Park, 22 against Westinghouse, 18 against Taft, and then, as we mentioned, 42 last week against Westinghouse. So it's been a very inconsistent offense for Phillips, but the offense did show up here tonight as Winslow hands it up up the middle for about 4 yards. Looks like on the carry there, possibly number 14, who has his first carry of the night. This was one of the numbers that we saw added to the roster. Yeah, we did not have a number. Omari McAfee, the 5'8" running back. We don't have a year on him, but He comes in for his first carry of the night. So Phillips giving some playing time to their second stringers here. They are using a lot of time in between clocks. Looks like scoring not as much of an emphasis for them as McAfee goes to the sideline again. This time enough for a first down across the 40-yard line of Lane Tech. And they'll keep the clocks rolling. Student section pretty empty on the right-hand side for the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. Seniors starting to leave. They tried to stay as long as possible on their senior night, but it looks like security starting to usher them out here with about 3.5 minutes to go in quarter number 4. While this is senior night for Lane Tech, it is what we can't guarantee there will be another home game for Lane. Odds are most likely we could see Lane host a game in city playoffs. That is requiring a first-round loss in the state playoffs for Lane. So hopefully Lane can make Cinderella run in the state playoffs again. But if they lose in the first round, they will be a pretty high seed in the city playoffs. And we could see them host some city playoff games, which we saw them do last year. One could make this case that once the teams like Phillips, Simeon, Kenwood are out of the city playoffs, as they'll probably win their first-round games in state, it'll be a pretty open road for Lane Tech to make the city championship possibly for the first time in a while, maybe make the Prep Bowl. That would be a nice end to the season for Lane Tech. We're obviously looking a couple weeks ahead of time, but still some hope and optimism for Lane Tech despite the rough losing effort here tonight. 3:14 to go, quarter number 4. We're not going to have the call of the next two games unless something changes. We're probably just going to have online coverage for both the Westinghouse and Simeon games, and then broadcast deals get real complicated when we reach the state playoffs, but hopefully in 3 weeks we'll have some type of live coverage from you from either here at Lane Stadium or wherever Lane Tech ends up at the end for the first round of the state playoffs. As Winslow's going to line up in the backfield, McAfee behind him, hands it off to the running back for the third straight time. A great adjustment there. He's at the 20, finally gets taken down around the 10-yard line. And McAfee, who we have not seen a lot out of or anything really out of here today, comes off the bench, and against this first string offense for Lane Tech is having a lot of success. Takes this one down inside the 10, and it should be first and goal. Yes, they're going to drop the chain, so be first down and about, might be exactly on the 10-yard line. Looks like 1 yard in front, so first down and goal with 9 yards to go for the champions. 2.5 minutes to go in the game. Phillips not in victory formation. They probably could kneel it out at this point, but they're going to try to punch in one more score as McAfee on his 4th straight carry takes it inside the 5. Referee running along the 5-yard line, so I believe that's where they're going to spot it. So second down and goal now, 5 yards to go for the champions. Thanks to all who have joined us here tonight and to our couple of JV players who have been rotating in on camera jersey here tonight. They've all done a very good job of keeping you guys up to date with the action. Lane's done a great job honoring all their seniors here tonight, both on the football team, dance and cheer team, band, everyone with a very nice performance here tonight. Couldn't get done on the gridiron, but overall nice atmosphere here on this Friday night as McAfee will take his 5th carry of the game into the end zone to put Phillips up once again now by, going to be 34 by 27 points. They're just laying it on Lane Tech now with 1:20 to go in the game. See if they attempt the extra point again. Last extra point attempt, I don't think it was blocked, just went pretty narrow into the end zone. taking you around the Red North for the rest of the weekend. 2 Saturday games with the other 4 teams in the conference. Seems like that's how it usually is. 1 Friday night game, 2 Saturday games, mostly because a lot of these teams use Lane Stadium and can only be used once on Friday night. It'll be Whitney Young traveling to Westinghouse tomorrow at 1 p.m. as Winslow gets this to McAfee, who dances into the end zone for the 2-point conversion to put the Wildcats up by 29 points now, 36-7. 1:20 on the clock, but as we are saying, that will be the one matchup. Whitney Young taking on Westinghouse. Whitney Young trying to get their second win on the year. And then in the other matchup, which I think is going to be one of the more interesting matchups in the public league this week, it's going to be Taft taking on Clark. Taft finally got their first win of the season last week, but it's a Taft team that has a lot of talent. We saw it when they played Lane Tech. They were really developing their run game, got a couple of players back that they did not have for the start of the season in their running game, and it's a little too late for state playoffs for them, but they could have a nice showing in these last couple of weeks, so it'll be interesting to see what the Eagles can do. That's actually an Eagles versus Eagles matchup as Taft travels to take on Clark. Assuming that game is at Gately. Clark does not have a home field, and Rockney's been under construction this year, so there's been a lot of changes in the public league schedule. Here at Lane Stadium, I know one of the bigger games of the year, Kenwood taking on Simeon as they're going to throw the flag on the kickoff. Going to call against Phillips, and looks like we'll do that one again with 80 seconds to go. Surprised they called that whistle. It's going to be TJ Harper, Finn Merrill, and like Zach Joshua back to return. He's had a couple of players come in and out of the game here tonight. Hopefully they'll be all healthy for next week, but obviously something always to keep an eye on as we reach the end of the regular season. As now they'll back this one up. Just a 5-yard penalty. Might have been a false start there. They'll take it from the 35 now instead. This kick goes off cleanly. A nice one to Merrill. Jumps back to around the 17, running it. This time goes up the middle instead of the inside. Taken down. Almost looked like a head-on-head collision. Everyone looks like they're okay, but Merrill will get taken down after a nice run to about the 34. And Lane Tech will send their offense onto the field for one more time tonight. Might just kneel it out. Usually you do not see the losing team do it, but situation like this, you might see Lane not want to risk any more possible turnovers, but we'll see what they do as Seward calls in his huddle. It's going to be 1st down and 10 for Lane Tech from their own 34-yard line. This was one of the things we talked about. Lane actually did not do a horrible job with establishing field position here today. One of our keys was they can get the ball in good position to start off their drives. They should be in good position to at least contend in this one. The bigger problem for Lane has just been getting 1st downs, and as we say that, Finn Merrill goes for 10 yards to the outside for a 1st down. I think they'll give him 11 up to the 45, so nice run there from the senior as the clock keeps rolling. Under a minute now to play in quarter number 4. Fans have mostly all emptied in this one other than the parents on hand. I think they might have made the student sections leave a little early. Kind of weird. Haven't seen that from the security here before, but either way, a quiet end to this one after more louder crowds to start off this matchup as the clock goes to 30 seconds. Seward under center. Zach Joshua behind him. They're going to pitch this one to Lagus. Runs along his offensive line before getting taken down after a gain of about 1. Big tackle there from number 58 for Phillips, who we don't have a name on for our roster. And that should about do it. Clock's going to tick down from 5, and Lane Tech is going to fall for the first time this season, 36-7. at the hands of the Phillips Wildcats. Good effort in the first half for Lane Tech. It's a 12-7 lead for the Wildcats heading into the halftime break, but they just cannot close it out, and they end up falling in this one 36-7. Very impressive performance from the Wildcats, both on the defensive and offensive side of things. This is a team to watch as we head into the latter part of this regular season and the state playoffs. Lane Tech will be back in action next week as they take on the Westinghouse Warriors on the road at 1 p.m. We probably won't have the broadcast for that one, but updates on Twitter as always. I'll have them at least at Alex_Burstein. But that's just about all the time we're going to have here today from Lane Stadium on senior night. Here, Lane Tech honors all their seniors but can't get it done on the field. Your final score, Phillips Wildcats 36, Lane Tech 7. For all of our cameramen here today, my name's Alex Burstein. Good night.